All right, let's jump right into this explainer and tackle the growing pains of scaling a monolithic system without accidentally breaking your entire business in the process. Look, if you're dealing with an application where every single function is tightly woven into one massive codebase, you already know the pain. It's literally like playing a terrifying game of Jenga. You want to update one tiny feature at the top? Well, you've got to pull a block from the bottom and just pray you don't bring the entire tower crashing down. Scale one feature, and you're paying to scale the whole system. It gets expensive, and it gets slow, incredibly fast. So today, we're laying out a strategic blueprint for migrating away from that fragile monolith and moving toward a microservices architecture, where everything is broken down into small, independent, and super agile services. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the monolith scaling trap, look at agile solutions, dive into safe migration strategies, navigate those tricky integrations, avoid common pitfalls, and finally, talk about building the right team. Let's get to it. Starting with Section 1, the monolith scaling trap.
So why go through this headache at all? Well, think about day one. Your monolith is probably super easy to manage, right? But as your business grows, that single giant codebase turns into a massive liability. You literally can't move fast if every single deployment requires rebooting the entire system. To put this into perspective, check out this staggering stat from O'Reilly. 77% of organizations report much better scalability and faster deployments after switching to microservices. That's huge. It proves that moving to microservices isn't just some passing tech fad. It is practically a structural imperative for growth. If you want to be deploying daily instead of quarterly, this is exactly how you do it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Microservices as the Agile Solution.
Let's look at the actual trade-offs head-to-head. With a monolith, it's all or nothing. You scale the whole thing or you scale none of it. But with microservices, you scale only what you actually need. And my absolute favorite part is fault isolation. Imagine your billing module crashes. In a monolith, boom, your whole app goes down. But with microservices, it's totally contained. Users can still browse your catalog and log in while your engineers deal with the isolated billing fire. Now yes, you are dealing with more moving parts up front, which absolutely means higher initial complexity. But for the independent scaling, faster development speed, and that contained fault isolation, it pays off massively over time.
Okay, on to Section 3, the safe migration strategy.
This brings us to what is usually the most intimidating part of the entire journey. How do we actually pull this transition off without grinding the business to a complete halt? It's the exact fear every CTO wrestles with. It's like trying to upgrade an airplane's engine while you're cruising at 30,000 feet. The fear of your customers noticing the downtime is completely justified. But here's the golden rule. Whatever you do, do not attempt a big bang, overnight system rewrite. Tearing everything down to rebuild from scratch is just a recipe for disaster.
Instead, you want to use a brilliant strategy called the strangler fig pattern. I know, it sounds a bit dramatic, but it's incredibly effective. Basically, you build the new microservices right alongside your clunky old monolith. Then, piece by piece, you gradually start routing traffic over to the new services. Over time, the new system takes over more and more of the load, and the old monolith just kind of shrinks away into obsolescence. The best part? Your business keeps running seamlessly. Customers won't notice a single disruption, just a gradually faster experience.
To pull that off without losing your mind, you need a pragmatic checklist. Step 1, start with a full service inventory. Map out every single function. Step 2, pick the right targets first. You want to extract loosely coupled stuff, like a standalone reporting module, definitely not your core user database. Step 3 is applying that strangler fig pattern we just talked about. Step 4 is absolutely non-negotiable. Set up API gateways early. This gives you one clean entry point so inter-service communication doesn't become a tangled mess. And Step 5, invest heavily in observability right from day one. When a single click jumps across 5 different services, you need a digital breadcrumb trail to figure out exactly what broke and where.
Which brings us to Section 4, Navigating Integrations and ERPs.
Getting back to reality, we have to talk about the heavy, deeply embedded systems like your finance, HR, or inventory ERPs. These can totally derail a migration if you treat them as an afterthought. You've got to treat your massive ERPs as just another service, not the center of the universe everything revolves around. Expose their functionality through well-documented APIs. And the exact same logic goes for third-party tools like payment gateways. Build dedicated adapter services for them. We've all felt the intense pain of a vendor randomly changing their API without warning, right? If you use an adapter service, you only update that one specific spot, instead of frantically re-architecting half your system.
All right, Section 5, avoiding common migration pitfalls.
Let's talk about the messy middle. Because the truth is, migrations usually hit the rocks due to planning gaps, not the tech itself. You really need to watch out for a few major operational traps. Number one is data management. Moving from one big, cozy shared database to distributed data where every microservice has its own store is genuinely difficult and requires meticulous design. Trap 2 is team misalignment, which we'll hit in a second. Trap 3 is underestimating DevOps. Running microservices brings massive operational baggage. You absolutely need a team that lives and breathes containers, Kubernetes, and automated CI/CD pipelines. And finally, network latency. A simple internal function call inside your old monolith is now a network leap between services. You're literally fighting the speed of light and network cables now, so you have to design around it.
And finally, Section 6, building the right team.
You know, a major technical shift demands an equally major team shift. You can't just hand this off to junior devs or manage it part-time. This brings us to a fascinating concept called Conway's Law. It basically says that a system's design is going to mirror the communication structure of the team that built it. So if you have one giant monolithic team pulling from one giant backlog, they're going to accidentally build a monolithic architecture, even with microservice tools. You need independent teams managing independent services. If you don't have that experience in-house, be pragmatic. Bring in external experts or full-stack developers who have actually built distributed systems before. They bring the pattern recognition your internal team just won't have on their first try.
Let's ground all this in reality and talk numbers. For a mid-sized business moving a moderately complex monolith, you need to prepare for an upfront investment ranging from $150,000 to well over $500,000. That covers development time, major infrastructure overhauls, and serious testing. But, and this is key, the ROI is incredibly real. You make that money back through reduced infrastructure cost at scale, lightning-fast deployments, and way lower maintenance overhead long-term. As for the timeline, expect this organizational evolution to take somewhere between 6 to 18 months. But here's a pro tip. Do you actually need to migrate absolutely everything? No way. Leaving some stable legacy code right where it is isn't a failure. It's strategic pragmatism. Operating in a hybrid state where your old monolith handles the boring, stable stuff and microservices handle all your high-traffic features is a completely valid and honestly much more practical goal.
I want to leave you with one final, incredibly powerful thought from our explainer today. Migration is not a technical problem. It is an organizational decision that requires technical execution. The companies that win at this treat it as an ongoing evolution. They invest in the right people early, and they resist the urge to push faster than their infrastructure can actually handle. The blueprint is clear, and the advantages are completely undeniable. You know the steps, but is your organizational culture truly ready to make the leap?